Warning, if you don't like jock abuse, click off the video now. There are two shocking things about this fandom to me. 1, people actually liking the finale. 2, people liking Fad. I hardly see any Fad hate in this fandom. Even people who don't like him just say he's mid, which is way too generous for how lazily written he is. Usually, even if a character in Murder Drones is wasted, they still feel like they have passion put into them, like the creator cared. However, I cannot say the same about Fad. Without a doubt, I believe Fad is the worst character in Murder Drones due to how his writing fumbles. To finally expose to the entire fandom how bad his character is, I will be doing a full analysis on Fad. I'll be explaining him in every episode he is in, and explaining how the writing screwed over his character, leading to such a disappointment. Fad is a very grounded character. He talks to Uzi, giving us more context on how she interacts with others, but Fad never does anything that interesting, just being a typical nice jock stereotype. Fad feels more like an object than a character, meant to show Uzi's personality while hardly having a personality of his own. The next time we see Fad appear is near the end of the episode during the fight scene, where he actually gets some decent characterization. Fad attempts to stand up against its assembly drones, asking the WDF for help, only to be disappointed when they refuse to stand up. Then he gets the crap eaten out of him by V. This may not be plot important, but it is something that makes him stand out from being the jock stereotype. Him actually wanting to stand up and fight, even if the opponent is stronger. I can't wait to see how Liam and Glitch follow this up. I mean, this is clearly a moment that's supposed to be important to Fad's character, right? The last appearance Fad makes in the pilot is him looking shocked as Uzi banishes herself and leaves with the disassembly drones. And he doesn't say anything. He's shocked, but whose side is he on? Does he agree with Uzi for leaving, or did he want her to stay? I wish they showed us a bigger hint at what Fad's real opinion on the whole thing was. The pilot is supposed to explain the characters to us, highlighting their personalities and motivation. However, while we get a quick scene to give him some good characterization, him standing up to V and J and being disappointed at the WDF, we don't learn why he does what he does and what he plans on doing in future episodes. There was a setup of Uzi having a crush on Fad, but that thing just gets completely scrapped, so we're not even going to talk about it. The reason people forget about Fad is because even though he's doing things, we don't know why he does those things. Due to not showing us any of his motivations, I am left under the assumption that he does everything he does in the pilot just because he's nice. That's not an interesting motivation, that's just lazy writing. To give you a quick example on why this is lazy writing, imagine if Uzi wanted to kill all humans, not because they sent it to assembly drones who killed their mother, which led to her being neglected, which led to her believing the only way to be loved was by being the hero, but instead Uzi wanted to kill all humans because she just wanted to commit murder for fun. It makes the character less interesting, gives them less of a personality, and makes them more forgettable. This episode is where Fad gets the most focus, where the series can give him some development. Fad may not have been the best in the pilot, but Heartbeat could easily redeem him with some good characterization and giving him an important moment to shine. So somehow Fad gets into contact with Uzi off screen and gives her railgun back. How? Did Uzi text Fad? Why wasn't this shown on screen? Wouldn't Fad have to talk to Khan to get past the doors to go outside? Does Fad know another way to exit the bunkers that isn't connected to the doors? If so, how? It's lazy writing not to explain how Fad got into contact with Uzi to give her railgun back. Just add in a line of dialogue about it. It wouldn't have been that hard. Not to mention Fad giving Uzi the railgun, again, makes him feel like a plot device to Uzi. Their interactions tell us nothing new about Fad. He does tell En and Uzi about the disappearances, which may sound important at first, but if Fad never came with the railgun, Uzi would have probably gone with En to get it herself. Immediately, we're not off to a good start, but that's okay. we're not done with the episode yet. Fad can still redeem himself. Fad silently tags along with En and Uzi for the next couple minutes, nothing bad or good. But clearly he's about to get his big important moment to give us payoff to him from the pilot, or just build off that moment to create an even better payoff in a future episode. He points out some markings on the wall and says nothing besides the obvious, and then proceeds to get dragged away by Eldritch J because he's a bozo. This episode has still failed to give us any new characterization to Fad, despite giving him more screen time. But surely Fad's gonna pull his weight, facing off against Eldritch J with Uzi and En. It'd be interesting to see how Fad reacts to being put into a battle. Maybe he'd notice the holograms trying to trick them and try and snap them out of it. Or maybe he'd help En escape from Eldritch J, due to the fact En was most likely dragged away during the fight so the solver could get some alone time to traumatize Uzi. So, out of all the choices to give Fad his moment to shine, the build-up we've seen since the pilot, what does he do?
Lifesavers again! Thanks! Super invited to my shindig next weekend. Cool kids only.
Well, we should all be glad Fad doesn't have the solver, cause he's a little bit— What the hell is this? You had a chance to give Fad good characterization. Hell, you've had this chance the entire episode, yet you don't? This leads to Fad basically being worthless in this episode. I may not be a Fad fan, but it must have been incredibly disappointing for any Fad fans to watch this episode only to see their favorite jock as completely wasted. Screen time that could have been used on other characters is instead wasted on Fad. The only thing we get about Fad that's new is his shindig. Considering how the pilot fails to give him a good motivation, and this episode gives him the most screen time, this episode could have given him a reason for helping Uzi, other than he's nice. Why give Fad so much screen time just to end it anticlimactically by setting up a shindig, something that never happens anyways? Okay, shindig time! Oh, you've gotta be freaking kidding! Have you considered, instead of having an out-of-place prom, why not have the prom being Fad's shindig? I guess you'd have the issue of the whole prom queen plot, but just have Fad add a prom queen election to the party. May seem random, but it's either using something that was set up by Fad in Heartbeat, or just throwing in an out-of-nowhere's prom. It makes more sense, gives Fad some relevance, and gives the shindig payoff. Oh boy, it's the camping episode of all of Uzi's classmates. Finally time to show us how Fad interacts with the other classmates. Off to a simple start, Fad helping Lizzie off the bus, Lizzie smiling. Clearly he's liked by his classmates. If Lizzie likes him, then no doubt the others like him too. But when everyone gets scared of Uzi, Fad just doesn't react. Fad may not be friends with Uzi, but they're definitely on good terms with each other. It makes no sense for Fad to not have a reaction to this. Not even him looking down, feeling pity for Uzi. Someone gets shot in front of everyone, and Fad could not care less. Glad to see the series is taking itself seriously. Fad and Lizzie show the other workers that V and N are chill and won't kill them, or at the very least one of them won't kill them, and Fad disappears. It's here I thought they couldn't top the pure garbage that was Fad disappearing in Heartbeat. They don't even give Fad a transition to him leaving the episode like what they did in Heartbeat? What the hell? I would normally say this is lazy writing, but technically, this isn't lazy writing. This isn't writing at all! A chance to give Fad a relationship with other characters, give Fad more characterization, possibly give him development or payoff, all thrown away because screw Fad! Whatever, time for the 2 last episodes. Surely they won't fumble. You know what, I'm not even gonna bring up the fact that Fad comes back for the last 2 episodes out of nowheres. Fad tags along with Lizzie for no other reason than Liam said so, and honestly, the Lizzie and Fad's relationship is pretty good, even if it's basic. They give off sibling vibes. Fad in this episode is actually decent. Of course, it still struggles from Fad being given no motivation to go along with any of this besides for he's nice and his character not developing or being given payoff. But They set up an amazing cliffhanger. They set up a Jay vs. Con, Lizzie, and Fad fight scene for the next episode. This is actually a genius move to make. It makes the casual fans happy because it sets up an epic fight scene for the finale, and it makes the hardcore fans happy because these 4 characters who desperately need screen time will hopefully all have their moment to shine in the fight, and finally, it could redeem Fad. He may have fumbled in the past, but the finale could make him a good character, making his addition to the story worth it and making Fad fans happy. Oh my god, Glitch, you were so close. What the hell happened? You set up a fight scene that could have easily been the top 3 best scene in the entire series. A chance to use characters who were previously wasted and give them some great characterization, and you just don't? I suppose it was for budgeting reasons, but the finished product is still the finished product, and losing this fight scene is easily one of the worst writing decisions the series has ever made. That does nothing because what's good writing? And then he gives Uzi the railgun, reducing him to a plot device to Uzi. It doesn't help he has no interaction with any other character that episode and no motivation besides he's nice and is seen cheering for Uzi at the end, once again showing us how empty his character is. Even calling Fad a character is too generous. He's a thing the writers use whenever they need to give something to Uzi. Also, off topic, but wouldn't it make more sense for Khan to give Uzi the railgun? Showing the audience that Khan trusts Uzi with the railgun, believing that she can beat Sin, would have some decent payoff. It'd still be underwhelming, but it'd give Khan more to do than save N in a blink and you'll miss a moment and then not get an emotional scene with his wife. But instead, they have Fad do it? Wouldn't it make more sense if, I don't know, if they used the fight scene in episode 7, having Fad fight Jay and manage to knock her out using the same metal pipe he had in the first episode, showing us Fad finally doing what he failed to do in the pilot. Fad is incredibly boring in Absolute End, wasting any chance the series had at making him a good character. All this finale does is make me wonder about Chad, and how much better this series would have been if we gotten him instead of this bozo. One thing is clear about Fad. He's more disappointing than I am to my parents. As much as I hate Fad, if Glitch and Liam knew what they were doing, Fad could have easily been known as a great subversion of the jock trope, a trope I don't usually see being done. But instead, Fad is the most bland, useless, and weakest character in the series.